And for further analysis on the matter, Amira Rasha Youssry, the specialist in Israeli affairs, joins us from Cairo. Welcome to Qnews. We're glad to have you with us. And let me first start by asking you, how significantly is Israel's military escalation contributing to regional instability? And could it be deliberately expanding the conflict beyond Iran?
Firstly, I'd like to thank you for having me. The Israeli strikes, it seems that a very serious escalation in the region, particularly that Iran had already retaliated in similar strikes against Israel and its military army. And it seems like if the region did not, or rather the international community would contain such an incident, that would lead the parties along with the Argentina in a wide scale regional war that would yield to not good results.
Now, I have to ask you, is there reliable evidence backing Israel's rationale for the strikes, or is it leveraging the nuclear threat as a pretext for broader strategic aims in the region?
Israel is always speaking about the Iranian threat to the Israeli entity. And what they did recently justified before the international community to pursue the not having Iran and nuclear weapons as they did in the last April by attacking the air defense system of Iran. And once again, Iran tried to fix the damage affected to its facility. So talking about that Israel has a barrage of goals as announced by Israel, which is the possession of Iran to the nuclear weapons, do not wish, along with the international community, to have Iran developing nuclear capabilities. So they pursue to fail such a goal, and before the whole world, Israel having the pretext that the negotiation never yielded to its fruit, and along with the US, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and several other regional countries is trying to relentlessly to de-escalate the tensions in the region and to mediate or pursue to have the Iranian delegation back to the negotiation table.
So speaking of the Israeli goals you've mentioned earlier, so after Israel targeted nuclear facilities in Iran and even killed nuclear scientists, I have to ask you, to what extent did Israel dismantle Iran's nuclear resources? And does this signify a transition in a strategy from deterrence to direct engagement?
There's no doubt that the Israeli strike against Iran's nuclear facilities and included in a great portion of, or rather damaging the nuclear facilities that will lead Iran to abandon its position to nuclear weapons, to return into the negotiation table. In the first strikes did not affect or damage the nuclear facilities, but later on had damaged the air defense system along with the launchers manufacturers, missile launchers manufacturers, and But Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, stated a while ago that the latest Israeli strike that had made an great damages to against the main plant of the enrichment of the Iranian. The fear is now is a similar retaliation by Iran. Frankly, the estimation of the military in Israel think that they might expect similar strikes by Iran as they did yesterday in reaching the Israeli depths within Israel, as reportedly that Rishon Lexion town was largely damaged, led the death of the three people it is in the southern of Tel Aviv. So reaching missiles into the depths of Israel pose a great threat to Israel, as Israel through its strikes posing a great threat in the Iranian depths, particularly that Israel has announced that has a free movement in the Iranian skies. Such incident would escalate the tensions. So launching war in the region isn't in the basic or the status quo, is practically a war, but a psychological war. So disseminating such news that will ignite the inside two countries. Iran might study to have the Hormuz Strait being closed, which is an agreed and a big move that would de-escalate largely the region, and it might ally the countries engaged that would lead to a big regional war, or rather another world war.
So yeah, the main goal of cutting in, but speaking of Iran's options here, I have to explore a different aspect. Iran has announced that it withdrew from the nuclear talks with the United States. However, Washington Post has said that, or has reported rather, that the United States is still willing to conduct negotiations with Iran. What are the chances here of Iran returning to the table of negotiations, maybe after achieving a certain bank of goals?
I see that the amount of gains achieved by each party, if their public feel made the provocation or justifications for their parties to achieve, and if they reshape their images, they might go back to the negotiation table. Iran would be stand still, and maybe that would increase the matter. If along Israel is trying to launch more strikes, the international community, as I mentioned, has a great role to play. And if the goal for both parties or for the international community to make Iran submitted to the American conditions, and such strikes primarily is goal against or retaliation against or attacking Iran. So not to taking the manner of tit for tat isn't might lead to the return for the negotiations, as America announced that they might join the upcoming round of negotiations, but to as Israel is informed us as they do, such strikes during the day, based in the estimation that tonight will be have some sort of Iranian retaliation against Israel. It's a great casualties in the region. All the air airlines such as Lufthansa that suspended its activities in the region, such as airspace in Syria was closed, let alone that Israel has already struck an airport in Iran as a civil airport under the pretext that the Iranian strikes
Yes, Miss
have
Amira,
reached.
your point is clear. That was Amira Rasha Youssry from Cairo, the specialist in Israeli affairs. Thank you so much for joining us here on Q News and for all the insights you provided us with.